Look what I got. Yep. Life is what happens between coffee and wine. That kind of sums it up. Let's get started. Welcome back. So if you haven't guessed it, that was one of my Mother's Day gifts, and it was handmade. And thank you. I know you're watching out there. Thank you. And happy belated Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Yes, last week I kind of threw a little flip on you and did 3 wonderful videos. So this week, going back to 2, but if a 3rd one happens, it happens. If not, I'm not stressing over it. So what am I doing today? Well, the sun does not know what it wants to do, and please forgive the change in the atmospheric conditions outside. It is chilly. So what a better day to do some dyeing. Yes. But today is different kind of dyeing, and it's not very glamorous. It's not very hands-on. It's this. In a bag. Why is it in a bag? Well, it's because of the fibers. I am dyeing up organic cotton and linen. And organic cotton and linen, or any cotton, Pima cotton as well, has to be scoured first. It also has to be soaked in soda ash, which is a washing solvent. And it also has to be put into dye, and also has to be left in that dye and left wet 12 to 24 and sometimes 48 hours, depending on how deep and dark you want the dye to be. That is why most small indie dyers do not dye cotton. So again, precaution, it does use a different dye than wool does. This is a plant or cellulose based fiber, so it does use a different dye. Whereas wool takes heat, cotton is a cold water dye, so it does not need to be heated. And I've got many bags here, and I'll just keep rotating them over the next 24 hours, take them out and see how the progress is doing. So you can kind of imagine if you're going to do this in your own home or try it, you know, it's different doing like tie-dyed t-shirts or something like that. When you've got long hanks of yarn laying on a table or a countertop or something that's not to be disturbed. And I find it's easiest to keep it here. Now, last year I introduced in this spring of 2018 some Pima cotton that I had hand painted. And I had tables out in my great room laying there covered with plastic wrap and, you know, tarps and stuff like that, and had to make sure that they kept wet constantly throughout the dyeing process. They were a hit. They were a lot of work. And that's why I say most indie dyers do not do that, because it takes a lot of time. There's also a lot of washing after the dye process. So it does use a lot of resources. Not only does it use a ton of dye, because for every 8 ounces of water, it takes 2 teaspoons of dye. Whereas wool, you can get away with a few grams or less compared to this cold water dye. So most of my organic cotton and linen, for that reason, because linen also takes up the dye differently than the cotton does, and that's why it gives it like a washed look, are all one color. So I'm introducing some new colors for this year, because summer will be here soon, I hope soon. And it warms up a little bit out here. But those are some things to think about. If you're going to dye something in your own home, in your family kitchen, like I said in the last video, precautions, 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 because some of these dyes are very toxic. So it's not too pretty watching me dye stuff up because I'm all like geared up. My whole kitchen's covered up, you know. It looks like the zombie apocalypse is coming, and I've plasticed everything off because you don't want your food to get contaminated with this dye. It's not healthy for you to breathe in the dyes. I also had a question in one of my previous shows about cotton and if it can be speckled. And herein lies the problem with dyeing cotton yarns, because they have to sit 12 to 48 hours, and to get the depth of color, sometimes longer than that. Speckling involves just placing direct dye molecules onto the piece, or in my case, skeins of yarn. So as you can imagine, trying to keep that wet, that dye molecule is just going to disperse. So you get like more muddy instead of like speckling yarn, you know, a wool yarn. Wherever that first little speck hits, it's going to dye it. It just sucks it up in comparison to the cotton dyes that are out there. I've got some more new things coming in. I can't wait to show you. Yes, there's going to be more cotton involved, but this will be 100% Pima cotton. And I'll go through some of the scouring process, because cotton, they use different things to align the fibers and to smooth them out in order to spin it into yarn. And that's why you have to scour it first before anything happens with the pre-soaking of it, before you dye it. That's why I said it's not very glamorous. And I'll probably do a few new colorways for this summer and hand paint some of it. But then again, it has to sit on my tables for quite some time. And I've got time. It's cold outside, rainy, miserable for some, but can't go hiking because it's too muddy, because it's just been like torrential rains here. And I don't want to slip and fall, break a leg right before show. So precautions, because whatever will happen can happen, right? I hope you got something out of this. I know it's not very informative, other than some of the stuff that you have to do prior to doing the cotton, and some of the extra little added steps that need to be taken care of. And yes, I did have a bottle kind of implode on me, and I've washed my hands quite so many times, and I still have the dye. So it is very, very, very important to take precautions. All right, so please like, subscribe as always, hit the bell to be notified for when I post another video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.